Karan, moving on, like, you've interviewed so many celebrities. Is there someone in modern Indian history, say from, that you would have loved to interview?
Are there people I would love to have interviewed?
From modern, say from the 20th century onwards, not too far back.
Oh, I'm sticking to people who are alive. I would love to have had an opportunity to interview Sonia Gandhi. I asked her several times. She accepted on several occasions. I remember once meeting her at a reception and saying, Mrs. Gandhi, what about the interview you promised? You promised it a long time ago. And she laughed and she said, but I didn't say when. And she was right. She didn't say when, but she never gave it. I think, obviously, people have a right not to give interviews when they don't want to, but I would love to have interviewed her. I would love to interview President Trump. I would love to have interviewed Margaret Thatcher when she was Prime Minister of Britain. Going further back in time, to politicians who have fascinated me, and you see, mine is a political bent of mine, so the people I'm identifying tend to be politicians, but I would love to have interviewed JFK, Pandit Nehru, Indira Gandhi. I would love to have interviewed Mahatma Gandhi.
I was waiting for that. But moving on, there is this trend of people who you want to interview. For instance, if you met Sonia Gandhi now, what is the one question you would have loved to ask? If you were given just one question, what would you have asked Sonia Gandhi?
I don't know is the honest answer.
I'm sure you must have thought about it a lot, isn't it, Karan?
I thought about interviewing her, but not about the questions I would ask her, because the questions would depend entirely on the circumstances in which the interview is happening, what were the issues that were topical, what were the issues that she's involved in, what are the issues that require her to comment on them. So I've never got so far as to think what would be the first question I'd ask her. But if you ask me the same question about Narendra Modi, if you were to ask me, if Narendra Modi agrees to give you an interview, another interview after the one he walked out on, what would be the first question you'd ask him? And my first question would be, अगर आपको प्यास लगी है तो पानी अभी पी लीजिएगा. If you're feeling thirsty, drink your water now.
But there were times, I believe, that when people now who want to be interviewed, Mr. Narendra Modi, for instance, would like the questions to be given to them. I believe that that's now he goes for interviews. You have also done that. You've given questions to Barack Obama, I believe, before the interview, and also to Mr. Chidambaram, who wanted to see the interview before it went on air, right?
That's right. Mr.
Why did you
Chidambaram
agree
didn't
to
get
do
the
that?
questions in advance, but Mr. Chidambaram certainly wanted to see the interview before it went on air, because he wanted to have the right to vet it and deny us the right to show it. And when the interview happened, he turned to his advisor who was in the room, a gentleman called Mr. Gangopadhyay, and asked him if the interview was okay. And this very embarrassed gentleman said, oh, yes, absolutely, no problem with it at all. And Rajdeep and I had decided that we would be absolutely honest with the audience. And we began the interview with the caption which said that this interview has been recorded on the condition that Mr. Chidambaram will have the right to see it and decide if it can be shown. And at the end, when the interview ended, we wrote, Mr. Chidambaram had no problem and the interview has been broadcast exactly as recorded. And he was very upset, extremely angry that we had put up those two captions. I said, but why are you upset? I said, if you felt you had a right and you were doing an honorable thing in setting that condition, why are you embarrassed that the world's found out about it? If you're upset and embarrassed that the world has found out about it, then the condition you were setting was dishonorable, in which case, I've exposed your dishonorable behavior.
But would you have given the same privilege to Mr. Modi, supposing he says that he comes to you for an interview and he says he wants to vet it? Would you give him that same kind of leeway?
No.
Why not?
Because I'm older, wiser, and I realize that, in fact, politicians don't like the truth being told about themselves. So, no, I wouldn't give that. In fact, to be honest, I would never give questions in advance. And that's very different to someone not having the questions but wanting to check the interview after it's recorded. I would never give questions in advance to a politician. Politicians are being held to account. They are supposed to be able to handle questions on subjects that they are in command of. They don't need to know in advance what they're getting, but if they're intelligent people, they can quite easily work out what the question is likely to be. However, if an author, a musician, a singer, a dancer, a director of films were to say to me, can you share with me the questions? I wouldn't have a great problem because I'm not holding them to account. It's a very different sort of interview I'm doing. What I would do with politicians, and this happens all over the world, is I would happily brief them on the subjects I will raise. That is very different to telling them the questions. So I'm quite happy to say to politicians, I'll be talking to you about Sindhur, I'll be talking to you about cricket, I'll be talking to you about Pakistan, trade, tariffs. What I'll be asking about those issues, I will not tell you. But these are the subjects I'm telling you that I will raise so that they can brief themselves. That happens all over the world.